Today we're here standing as a unified front. And God, even as men and women touch and agree, fortify us as an anointed fortress. Let nothing that comes against be able to bring us down. For together we certainly stand. We bind the hand of the devil right now. God, we know you in your majesty, your glory. We know you in the time of trouble. We know you when all things are well. Speak a word today that will empower every hearer. And if you would do it, God, we won't accept the word, but all glory will be thine. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name. And all God's people say, thank God. Amen. You may be seated. Clap your hands again for the man's choir. Just want to make a quick call. I see the nephew back there, Brother Brandon. Amen. God bless him. Amen. And another father that I had saw look like he stepped out, Minister Thompson's father. Amen. Come on, clap your hands for him. He was that gentleman sitting there. So we thank God for you today. I've been blessed. I promise you I'm not going to be long, but I've been blessed today by everything that my eyes have seen, my ears have heard. It is wonderful when you can get a group of people to do anything. I don't care, and never take it for granted. I don't care how small a thing is. When it's more than one person's, it'll always be something that can go wrong. But one thing that I found out, you can't be too hard because nobody wants to be in front of people and fail. And so on that day, everybody will put their best foot forward. And if you have the support of those that you're working with in God, it'll turn out just like this. Wonderful. Come on, clap your hands again. God is good. He's worthy to be praised. And, you know, the time that we're living in is very important that we see men taking their rightful place. Now, this have nothing, so sisters, don't let your heart drop on your feet. This has nothing to do with whether you're called to be used. For you are certainly called to be used, and if you're usable, God will do just that. And when there's not a man, God will use what's necessary to get his program pushed forward. But because of some men, or a lot of men, we begin, in so many ways, the world is just stepping over manhood. Because of a few. You have some women who've never been able to get over a relationship that damaged them. And the damage came by a man who they gave their hearts to. And now every man is suspect. Every man is a dog. Every man is no good. And that's really a broad statement to make. Because it's only the men that you dealt with. Which is a small number as it relates to manhood. And then there has to be room for the natural man who is fallible. Has to be room for the man who is a male but have not learned to be a man yet. There has to be room for that. There has to be room for folk to not be perfect. Sometimes women, especially if she's been betrayed by a man, and the man that she's been betrayed by, they're back together. Well, if you won't get back together, you ought to not be getting back together with him to torment him every chance you get by what he did in the past, because you could have stayed away from him for that. But you really ought, amen, if you're going to get back together, say that we're defeating the devil and move on. and try to heal and try to grow and learn from the experience. Come on, somebody. So that the rest of your lives together can be what it was intended to be in the beginning. I want you to look at somebody and say, men are important. Now, I certainly don't want to be in a world where there's nothing but men. Because when that happens, I'm leaving too. Amen. But I certainly wouldn't want to be in a world without men. God spoke to me, and I looked at these two scriptures that they used, and we pulled them together. They're so wonderful. And it was the image of a godly father. Is that right? That's what the theme was? Everybody ought to be saying the theme. All the men. I got it right. But God spoke to me. I want to show you something quickly. Amen. Because I don't know what it is, but today, y'all better start treating us fathers better. Today, y'all was acting like y'all was all in left field, didn't know if it was coming or going. Come on, dear somebody. And you ought to have been jumping and running with the way these men have performed. Say amen. And for God, and have gotten up, amen. And most men, you can't get them to do nothing in front of people. Say amen. But these men came forth. Listen, go to Proverbs. Let me show you something. Maybe the words are going to help you out. Amen. Proverbs chapter number 16. Proverbs 16, verse number 7. One verse there. These other two scriptures, John 15:7, Ecclesiastes 8:1-5, which Deacon Rick read, amen, are very powerful. And I could have just preached from each one of those. Listen here. Now, what is that thing?
The image of a father.
The image of a father. In other words, what a father should look like.
Yeah.
Watch this. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies be at peace with him. When his ways please the Lord. When a man's ways, somebody say when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies be at peace with him. I want to talk to you in brief. I promise it's going to be short. Just look at your neighbor and help me announce my text. Say, neighbor. The pastor text is, may I speak to the man of the house. I want to speak to the man of the house. Even the biblical, even in the natural business world, when they call, they ask to speak to the man of the house. Because even they know that if there's a man in the house, there is a type of relevance and security that's there. People of God, today the Spirit would have me speaking to the lives of his people, especially the men. And when we say man of the house, in one word you get from when the Bible says a wise woman builded her house, what it's really saying, because one of the words for house is man or houseman or husband. So what it's really saying is when it's really saying that a wise woman builds her house or her husband or her houseman, watch it, or her covering. And the man is your covering, women. When we say man of the house, we're not just talking about the one you own or the one you want to buy. But more importantly, we are speaking to our spiritual house. Because in many cases we have fallen short as it relates to our godly houses. And if that happens, then the natural house is in trouble. In other words, brother, if God is not the head, I'm talking about for real. And see, God got to be more, and this is what I tell the preachers here, he's got to be more than